Only last month the Chamber hosted a circular IT event on our behalf, and as you'd expect, with the Chamber behind it, it was a resounding success, with just over 90 prospective customers attending. This is testimony to the Chamber's credentials, reach and enthusiasm.
So we've been working with the Chamber of Commerce since we arrived on the islands in 2011, and there have been many successes in this relationship. The first thing would be how we've worked with the Chamber to be able to influence the changes to Sunday trading laws. The second would be how we've been able to work with other organisations and the Chamber to pull together our views on retail tax. Thirdly, us having the opportunity to talk to other organisations and the Chamber of Commerce about our plans for Brexit.
The panel for our next bit of discussion. And we have plenty of questions in on Slido, and we're going to go to those questions very, very shortly. Would you please welcome our panel, the President of the Chamber of Commerce, Jennifer Carnegie, the Vice President, John Shenton, and the President up until May of this year, the past President, Elliot Lincoln. How embarrassing the hospital debate. We'll come to that in just a second. Before we do, Elliot, you were the President of this year, at the start of this year, right up until May. So looking back at your 4 years, 2 years as Vice President, 2 years as President, including those first 5 months of this year, memories of that time and thoughts on where we were and what was happening, what you feel we got over the line?
I thought after May I wouldn't have to stand up here and talk to the Chamber audience again, but thank you for the invite. The honour of being the President was it was such an honour, especially around the 250th anniversary of Chamber. But actually looking here, we've got 10 past presidents, current president, vice president. You feel like you're almost standing on the shoulder of giants. You've got you're sort of taking care of Chamber for a couple of years and hoping you don't break it and handing it on. But I think over my presidency, with the support of the executive and the committees and all the members, I think we did a lot to change Chamber. And that's what you get if you put a change manager in a position. You get change to happen. So we went through a process of simplifying our accounting practices. We rewrote the Constitution, so we brought that into the 21st century with some gender-neutral definitions and that sort of thing. We actually went through the process of rebranding, and I think looking at where it is, it's a modern, good-looking brand. The video was fantastic. We did a new website with the collective. With Brian, Chris and Arlene, that was great. Put a new CRM system in place. We had a lot of new team members, including yourself, Murray, and Felicity and Zara, who can't be with us today, unfortunately. She's organised a lot of this. And don't forget Helen, who the unsung hero of Chamber in the office. This doesn't happen without her. But in terms of Chamber in the inform, interact, influence side of things, we had a lot of conversations with politicians, with senior civil servants. We lobbied hard on subjects as per the video. So I think we influenced. We didn't win everything, but I think we won quite a few things that we wanted to do. And in terms of members, we had the 250th anniversary celebrations. I don't know, I think many people were there, but we had Rory Bremner, we had the Rat Pack, you can mimic them in a short while, Murray, and a personal message from Her Majesty the Queen that was delivered by the Lieutenant Governor, which was very special. In terms of, the business brief that we're advertising through now, loads of breakfast briefings, that sort of thing. But all of that is only possible with the people in this room. Chamber is a membership organisation, and it's only as strong as the people here. So it was an honour to be part of that, and I know that I've given a healthy Chamber over to the next president, and long may it last. So.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Elliot. Let's move on to Jennifer. Jennifer, you've been in the post now 7 months. Just seems like 7 years, I'm sure. But, just the 7 months so far. And the Constitution has changed now. The President will be in post, if you didn't get the memo, for 3 years, not 2, yeah? So you're not even done your first year yet. What do you make of it so far?
I've been... Is this working?
It is if you switch it on. Yeah. There you go. I'll swap you.
Thank you. I've been hugely impressed with the calibre and the quality of the people that work in Chamber. We've got about 100 people that work behind the scenes on the committees, and the level of experience that you get in the room is fantastic. They are busy people. They come in, they want to talk about the stuff they want to talk about, they want to understand the actions that are coming out of it, and then they want to get back to work because they're running their own businesses or they're going back to work after a lunchtime meeting. And they are passionate about what they do, and they're really committed to what they do. It's not a case of, as I thought when I first joined, it might be a load of people coming in out of the cold for a cup of tea to moan and whinge about what the government's doing, and it absolutely is not like that at all. So I've been hugely impressed with the calibre of people that work with the Chamber. I think from my point of view, one of the things that we're beginning to enjoy more and more is the way that the Chamber is working with its members and with government. I'm a huge fan of collaboration. I think in this day and age it's one of the only ways to get stuff done. And we still have some teeth. We're still happy to be a critical friend, and we will challenge hard when we need to, but we will collaborate too, and we want to work with the government to make sure that we're involved at the beginning of the negotiations and the processes and the setting of laws, so that we're not having stuff inflicted upon us that we're then asked to comment on and give an opinion. At that stage it's too late, and we're seeing now that government departments and some government ministers are proactively coming towards us and asking us to be involved up front, which we've got to, is fantastic. And I suppose the third thing is the diversity of the committees. So whilst the experience in the room is not in question, when you look around the committees, you don't necessarily see a reflective picture of the population on Jersey, and we've done quite a lot of work in that area. We've now got more ladies than men heading the committees, so Murray's in his element, you can imagine, with all the girls in the office and on the committees. But we want to make sure that the committees reflect the island as it actually is, and I think people have responded well to that. So I'm thoroughly enjoying it. And Elliot, thank you very much, and thank you for all that you've done over the last few years to make it as successful and as vibrant as it is.
Excellent. John, I'm sure you've got a few things to look forward to in 2020 that you'd like to talk about as well, because it's like the ghost of past, present and future. So
we're in trouble if I'm the future.
Yeah.
I think what probably I'm looking forward to the most is the fact that now the government plan has been passed virtually unanimously. I expect the government to get on with it. I don't expect to have any more excuses that it's someone else's plan. I hope that as the government came together, I think there was only 2 people voted against. The government will work cohesively with scrutiny. They will put their petty indifferences to one side. We will get rid of petty politics and personality politics, and we'll move everything forward. I think when you look around, you referred to in your opening speech how long some of these issues have been around. The hospital, population, and everything else. They're not new. What we need to do is we need to start making some decisions. We need to start moving forward. Chamber has an enormous amount of expertise in this room. We are not your friend, but we are not your enemy. What we need to do is work collaboratively together, and we need to come up with solutions. No on its own is not enough. No with detailed rationale as to why not. We will not embarrass you. We will not take cheap shots. If you just want cheap shots, we can do that very easily, but it achieves very little. Government doesn't have all the best ideas. Look at Green Street Car Park. I would imagine that scrutiny doesn't have the best ideas. Chamber doesn't always have the best ideas. But what I'm looking forward to is collectively we all have the betterment of Jersey at heart, and that's what we want to achieve. So hopefully the next 12 months we will be working collectively, civil servants, with John. We will pose you significant challenges, and if you fall short then we will be critical. If you exceed our expectations we will praise you. So I'm looking forward to a very interesting 12 months.
Okay, we have got the Chief Minister in the room, and today's not the day for Q&A with the Chief Minister, because next month the Chief Minister is our speaker for our next Chamber Lunch. How well did we plan that? So there will be a great opportunity for Q&A at that point. However, we've got plenty of questions coming in on Slido. That doesn't mean that I can't run around the room and with a microphone and you can ask a question from the floor. So if anyone's got a burning question they want to ask live, as they used to do in the old days, then you're more than welcome to do so at any time. Just raise your hand and we'll get round to you as quickly as we can. How embarrassing is the hospital debacle? 19 people like that question to start off with. John, you just referred to it there, the hospital debacle. It has been going on a little while, hasn't it?
I think it was...
You might need your microphone a bit closer.
I think what happened was, I remember reading something actually, my late father put in the press more than 20 odd years ago saying that they needed to plan for the new hospital. It won't be, my late father obviously won't have benefited from it, and the way we're going, I doubt I will either. I think that you just have to make a decision. There is only so many consultations you can carry out. Even if you end up building it in the wrong place, at least we will have a new hospital. At the moment, we have the worst of everything. We have a deteriorating hospital, and we seem to have an enormous amount of indecision. Please, just get on with it.
Right. I'm going to play devil's advocate because someone's brother was the health minister at part of that time as well.
Who's that?
Yeah, it's a guy called Ben. I don't know if you know him. Anyway, so anyone else want to comment on hospital on this, or if anyone wants to comment on the floor at any point, feel free to do so, including you, sir, if you wish to. Do you want to? Oh, bingo. Chief Minister wants to respond to this one. There'll be no Q&A next month.
Thanks, Murray. I'm still looking forward to hearing you sing there. It is, top question. Right, in relation to John's comment, sorry, not so much the comments. When I started in May of 18, which feels a long time ago now, we'd had one application rejected for the hospital, and obviously earlier this year we had another application rejected for the hospital. So although there's been lots of delay, let's put that into the context of to go for the same site and the same planning principles a third time, having spent 40 million quid, having two rejections, would be, I think, close to the definition of madness of doing the same thing again and again and expecting something different. So what we now have is, obviously we've had to get the teams back in place. The scheme as a whole had only been, the last update for scoping was from something like 2012, so 7 years ago, roughly, was what was being applied for. So obviously, since then, technology has changed, the way we do things has changed. The simplistic thing, bearing in mind I'm an accountant and nothing to do with health, is things like a lot more keyhole surgery, etc. And that has an impact on what goes into the hospital. So in simplistic terms, the specifications have changed, and that impacts what you build, and let alone the fact that, as we've been saying, we have, I can't remember how many million paper records, and ideally we don't want to be building for something to contain those records. That's adding to your cost. In the meantime, so what has been going on is we've been putting together what they call the citizen panel. That's to give the input. We've had 150 people have applied for it. That is going live in the next 4 weeks, I believe. We've got the relevant team in place. There's been engagement with 40 third sector organisations over the summer. The Jersey Care model has been going live. That's been going around the parishes. In fact, I think the last meeting on that is tonight. And so that will influence, again, the way care is being delivered. So there is a lot of change happening around the delivery of care, which will then determine what the building will look like. The site will come out during the course of next year. Okay. So it's not in decision, but we were starting from a point where we didn't have a decision because we didn't have an application that we could work with.
Okay, thank you for answering that. I really appreciate that. Before you were Chief Minister, were you the chairman of Corporate Services Scrutiny Panel that blocked everything from being a hospital?
I think actually we couldn't block because there's always the States Assembly that block. But what I will say, Murray, is that if you listen to the professionals who have been doing some of the presentations, I'm talking the health professionals, they are saying that the type of care that is going to be delivered had not been taken into account properly in the previous specifications of the previous hospital. So in other words, if you want something that's fit for purpose, that's going to cater for the 21st century, we're in the right place.
Okay, all right. Going to leave that there. Thank you for asking the question. We're going to move on. There's going to be a lot of questions here, and we're not going to get through them all, and certainly not a sing-song. What in Chamber's opinion are the biggest two challenges to face them in 2020? Oh, who shall I go to first? John, I come to you at the far end. Yeah, you again.
Population migration, whatever you want to call it. I think that will be the biggest challenge. And from a personal perspective, and I think it will affect most people in the room, tax.
So population and tax. Anything to add to that, Jennifer or Elliot, that you think that we should be talking about or we should be more concerned about?
I agree.
Yeah. Agreement all the way across. Anyone want to talk about population at this point? Because population is the one thing, or migration, whichever way you want it. There's a question down here. Do states members know the difference between migration and population? Is there a difference between the two, John? Clear difference?
Yes, certainly. It's probably not for me to explain the difference. I think everyone in the room hopefully understands the difference between migration and population. I think it is a very complicated subject, and I think people skew what their views in relation to their personal circumstances, and then they'll be the first one to criticise when something goes wrong. My personal view is that the population cannot be capped, but it is not purely due to migration. I think that you need to look at the big picture, you need to look at all industries, and I think what will happen is that we will all moan about it, and I think the key to getting it right is that we all moan just to a little bit equally across all industries.
We're a, I say unique place, of course we're unique, but we have a situation where the primary thing that everyone in this room is concerned with is industry, because everything starts with business. We employ people, we pay taxes, the employees pay taxes, and an attractive place to do business, an attractive place to work will generate income for the island. If we price ourselves out, if we get to a point where we're overtaxing, putting more burden on, people won't want to be here. And if industry starts to go into decline, the island will start to go into decline. So we need to look at industry first and do what we can to attract the right people here who are setting up businesses, who are driving businesses. This is what we should be really focused on: is how do we make Jersey the place where we want industry to thrive.
That inevitably means that population may well rise. The question down here, does Jersey have a big enough population? Suggesting that actually we could do with some more people. And if you talk to most employers in this room, I suspect that they would be saying, we're short of staff right now and it's very difficult to employ. So you've got both things going against the middle. How do we fix that, Jennifer? Is there a fix?
I don't think there is an easy fix. I do think we're very close to the UK mainland and it's easy to get here, so we can have a breathable population that comes and goes. I think it's not good for population to be in decline. Guernsey's suffering with those problems at the moment. Population, when you look at some of the stats that Kevin took us through at the last lunch, where is the population rising? Well, and which sectors is the population rising within? Hospitality, retail, agriculture. They've got the same numbers of people working in those industries as they did 20 years ago. But we've got 20,000 more people on the island. We've got an infrastructure on the island that will last at the current rate of growth for the next 10 years. And then we're going to have to start reinvesting massively in the infrastructure. Education and nursing, you've got a 78% increase. People that are there. People over 65, there's been a 25% increase. So in terms of looking at managing a sustainable population growth, and I think it has to grow, you have to take into account the dynamics and the weather that's actually happening in the island, regardless of what we think might be happening. When you look at the facts, where's the growth needed, where is the growth actually happening? And finding different ways. There's going to be a point in time where there will be like Hong Kong. If we're not careful, we'll just be building everything up, and everything that the island attracts people to the island at the moment will be lost. We must never ever get to that point, but we must be able to find ways that we can flex workforces and skills coming into and leaving the island to keep the population at a sustainable number.
Okay, going to get some comment from the floor if we can, because there is another poll up there. Do you think we need tighter migration controls in Jersey? 25 people have voted already, 68 people saying no, we don't need tighter controls, and 32% saying actually we do need tighter controls. So you can see there is some difference in the room. Is building up the answer? Do we need to have a realistic way of saying, look, the population is going to grow no matter what? It's where we grow. As far as the island's concerned, we're only 9 miles by 5. Are we supposed to be going upwards? Is that the answer? Is that a realistic answer? Is that not what people want?
It seems to be what the answer is at the moment. It seems that St Helier is the place. So rather than going anywhere else, I'm not sure that's where we can go long term. But certainly up in St Helier seems to be the chosen place at the moment. But I think as you know, the island and St Helier is shifting, I think what you'll find is that certain areas where Columbury potentially, those sort of areas, will become more residential as town sort of seems to shift towards IFC. But it may be one of the answers. But I think Jersey is almost self-limiting at the moment, because it's not a cheap place to come to live, to rent, to buy property, if you're allowed to buy property. So actually the current situation is that there's a lot of people who might want to come to the island who physically can't afford to come to the island.
John, you and I both sit on the Migration Policy Development Board. Why, I have still no idea, but we talked ourselves into it, and we sit there with a group of politicians as two of the 3 lay members, if you like, of that board. Do you think the population will just manage itself? Elliot was just saying then, you know, it's self-determined, it's self-managing in a way. Do you think it will just level out because we're too expensive for anyone to come and there's not enough homes?
I think it will, actually. We've had an enormous amount of information presented to us, enormous amounts. And I think that what you have, and I think Elliot and Jennifer alluded to it, you can't look at each sector differently. Retail hasn't grown, hospitality hasn't grown. But so if we turn the tap off, no restaurant staff, no coffee shops, no nothing, no service industry, health, education, they've grown enormously over the same period of time. We've got an ageing population. We have to pay for that ageing population. So we also need, so if I can't turn hospitality off, and I can't turn retail off, and I can't turn the nurses off, and I can't turn the teachers off, then do I turn the bankers off? Do I turn the accountants and the lawyers off? But they're the ones who were probably in the finance industry who are contributing more than their fair share in relation to tax to pay for the teachers and everyone else. So my personal view is, going back to what you said actually, Murray, is that I think we will find our own level. I think as soon as we start talking in numbers, we're back to the old saying, if someone comes to us as the 101st person, do we turn him down? Because we've reached our limit. I think we will actually reach the limit. I am concerned about infrastructure in relation to especially housing, cost of living. I think the island plan needs to be far more forward-looking. I think there is a certain amount about building up in St Helier. I think there will be development into the green zone, but I think you have to look for generations going forward, and you have to also look at providing a very good standard of living to the people who are here. Yes, it's very nice to have an extra potato field, but I'm sorry, if we give a better standard of living to 60, 80, 150 people, then I'm sure we can lose the odd potato field. I think that being governed by old laws which look at fields which were taken by the Legales from the Delamars in 1030 or whatever it was, I think we need a fresh approach. And I think that's hopefully what the island plan will give us. And I implore the government to be brave, to make the difficult decisions, and to make some proper decisions around what is best for my children and my grandchildren. And that's what I want them to do. But at the moment, we're 6,000 homes down. We're going to be more than that. We need to just, as I said before, please make a decision. Get on with it. Make the tough decisions, make the tough calls. The island can cope. People will whine, but the island will cope because it will be for the betterment of all.
Okay, going to move on. I've got loads of questions coming up, and it was about a 60-40 split in terms of those that would have 60% said we don't need tighter migration, 40% said we don't. How can we reduce the blame culture in local politics and attract more creative and business minds into politics? What a good question. How do we attract people back in there? Is it the money? Is no one going to go into it? Is it the blame culture? Is it the fact we don't work together? What do you change, Elliot?
I think we have to look at states member remuneration, absolutely. If you want to attract people who are at the top of the game in business, you can't attract those people necessarily if you're going to pay £46,000, whatever the salary is now. Also, you need to look at the different roles that the politicians play. The Chief Minister is paid the same as a backbencher who turns up once every 2 or 3 weeks. That's not right. You know, that we need to be looking at how we remunerate people who are doing more work. And I think that you know, we need to be looking at that. But the politics isn't business. You know, the skills of a politician aren't necessarily the same skills as a businessman, but or woman. But you need to be looking at a range of people who sit in the States Chamber. One of the 49. And we need to have a spread. But at the moment, you know, in terms of high technology, I don't see a lot of people in the States Chamber who have a high technology brain. Business people, I do see people in there, but you know, we need that range, and I don't see that at the moment.
Okay, I have so many questions in here, we're never going to get through them, we're running so late as well, which is typical. When will Jersey tax allow women to speak for themselves was a very popular question. John, that's on the way, isn't it? It's been passed. Thought it had. There we go. First step has been passed. Hallelujah. When will the fourth man with party hat clapping deliriously?
The proposal is that they speak for themselves, but the system is still unfair. And there seem to be no concrete proposals, just a bit of a waffly document saying that it is on the way. Brexit is on the way.
Okay.
I asked John to say that, by the way, from a tax point of view.
When is the fort going to be repurposed for the community? Consultation going on at the moment? Been going on for an awful long time. Okay, lots of questions down here. I'm going to try and find something that we can finish up with. What are the opportunities and threats for Brexit? What does Brexit offer in the way of opportunities and threats? We're going to be seeing it, we think, in January, depending on tomorrow's election, no doubt. So, opportunities and threats for Brexit. Elliot, you lived through half of the year that we've been talking Brexit with government and with lots of businesses. Opportunities or threats?
I think there's both. I think that the threat is over the next couple of years, it's going to be a bumpy ride. I think it's it's not clear exactly what's going to happen in terms of any deals, what WTO will do to us, what actually if London has a bit of a downturn, what effect that might have on Jersey. But also you look in a couple of years' time, the ability to do unilateral trade deals, that sort of stuff. I think that over the course of a couple of years, I think it'll be bumpy, and I think it'll be then get back to something better. But you just don't know.
Crystal ball time. Anyone else want to make any comments on that very quickly?
Just very briefly, I think the biggest threat of Brexit is not doing it. It's the lack of leadership, the lack of decisiveness, the lack of clarity for businesses. I think if it was really important one way or another, Brexit or leave or remain, we would have made the decision by now. The fact is there probably is no right answer, and we've been unable to make the decision, which tells me that we'll probably be okay, regardless of which decision. The problem is nobody's making the decision and getting on with it.
I'm going to almost wrap it up there. There was a question, can Murray predict who the next Chief Minister will be? Quite frankly, I didn't predict who the last one was going to be, so I'm going to have no on the next one. So we'll leave that question there. There are a whole pile of questions down here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to print the whole of those questions out. I'm going to give it to our panel. We're going to put that up on our website, and we'll have the answers back to you from our chamber panel, because I think it's the only fair way we're going to do it. I think we're almost out of time. I'm just looking to see how long we've got before people start running away. Why don't we entertain a park and ride scheme? Thank you very much indeed to that. How long does it take to decide where to put a hospital? I think we've covered that one. There's one about 0-10. What can be done to tame local inflation? Another good question that I'm not going to have the chance to do now, but the panel are going to answer those questions, and they're going to answer the question about the housing crisis as well. And I think that's just about all the time we've got left. If there's a last question in the room, I can probably take it. Sir, question from you down at the back there.
Could you sing us a Christmas song yet?
The answer to that is I probably can't sing you a Christmas song, and you probably wouldn't want to hear me sing a Christmas song, so that's very, very kind of you for asking. But I tell you what, why don't you sing us a Christmas song instead? Go on. You sing one. Go on. Raf, you got any music that you can sing to? Bung some in there if you can. Go on. Your turn. Help me out. You don't even know what it is. Have a go. Come on, big voice, you're a big fella. Come on, you're not even Italian, I know you're not. Go on, give it a go. Can't hear it. Wow. Whoa. Ladies and gentlemen, will you please thank Scott for singing for us? And getting me out of the hole. Thank you to our past presidents. Thank you to our existing president, pre-president, and of course our vice president as well. Thank you very much indeed for coming along. Don't forget, January lunch, Chief Minister is going to be speaking and answering all of your questions. We look forward to that at the Radisson in mid-January. Have a very happy Christmas, very peaceful Christmas, a very prosperous 2020. Good afternoon.